Welcome to the Dominate Your Niche podcast with me, Ruth Ferreira. Here we chat to some of today's best small business leaders, individuals who are shaking up their industry and dominating their niche. The show tackles all things business growth, from strategy, marketing and branding, and delves into the secrets of what it takes to dominate your niche. The aim of this podcast is to empower founders with big dreams, small and micro businesses, and even solopreneurs who are looking to make a big impact. People who are hungry to learn from those who have gone before them and implement that knowledge to next level in their own business. So welcome, lean in, and then go take action to propel yourself towards dominating your niche in your small business. I'm excited to introduce you to Kim Simmonds, who is an award-winning CEO and the founder of Law 365 and Cloud Contracts 365. Kim is an experienced lawyer and entrepreneur. She is a charismatic leader and pioneer, and she has built a significant niche law firm, as well as a growing, innovative AI SaaS-based product, which is currently disrupting the legal sector. She's also the mother of 2 small children and a regular practitioner of well-being pursuits like meditation, breathwork, and ice baths. Our discussions included the pros and cons of niching and how Kim built a business by going above and beyond, which resulted in word-of-mouth referrals being generated. We also discussed her latest venture using a niche AI product. I can't wait for you to meet her. Hi, Kim. Welcome to the podcast. Great to have you on here.
Hi, Ruth. Lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. So, Kim, you have built an incredibly niche business, a law firm that was initially dedicated to serving Microsoft partners, and now you've moved to serve a slightly broader base of tech clients. So what I would love to know is what drew you to that niche and how did you position yourself there?
Yeah, great question. And thanks, Ruth. So I started life as a corporate M&A lawyer and then went into commercial and did that for a few years, and then sort of decided actually when I was pregnant with my first to go off on my own. And at that point, it's quite daunting. Not only am I leaving a very secure job, I'm about to have my first child. It's all like completely crazy, but there was something in me that really drew me to changing things in the industry, which we can talk about later. But ultimately, when you go on your own with whatever business model, whatever industry you're in, you're going to have to find a USP or something that really sets you apart. I think in the world of law and small law firms, there's a huge amount of competition out there. And really, what is it that is a USP about me and my offering? Because it really was about me and my offering at that point. It was just me and the business. And how do I set myself apart? And really, when I looked at what I'm good at, my sort of background was looking at different industries, really breadth of experience, but very generalist. And I wanted to build a specialization around what I was doing. I had an opportunity to kind of work with a Microsoft partner, quite a big Microsoft partner at that time, and really kind of look under the hood, sort of effectively act almost like an in-house counsel whilst I was working in private practice. So they were a client that I brought in. And by virtue of that, I really understood the business model. I really understood the ecosystem of Microsoft and how they partner with these independent tech businesses and what was involved in that, how the contracts needed to really reflect the business model, the challenges, the cash flow concerns, the partnership model with Microsoft, rebates, like all of those things that really generalists wouldn't have a clue how to do. So one of the areas was really like looking at this, and I had a natural interest in technology anyway, and found out that there's 30,000 Microsoft partners in the UK, 3.5 million worldwide. So that wasn't an insignificant
Wow.
number.
So
Yeah.
that is the perfect niche, isn't it? And interestingly, I've been having this conversation with somebody earlier today.
Yeah.
Are there enough people in your niche? Like, yes, niching is amazing, but the ideal niche is described as an inch wide and a mile deep. And it sounds like yours is 10 miles deep. That is a lot of potential clients there.
And what I say to people, interestingly, is like niche does not mean small, right? It just means specialized. It just means focused. So, you can go for a big market, but really be focused. because you know that that market exists and is enough to feed you for forever.
That's
So
amazing. And can I ask, do
yeah.
you have many competitors in that niche? Are there many firms that serve Microsoft partners?
So we were the only law firm in the world to do that. There is one company, it's not a proper law firm because it's just sort of templates that they do out in Australia that does cater to the Microsoft partner world, but they're not a fully serviced sort of, full offering. So we are the only sort of Microsoft centric, partner centric firm in the world.
Congratulations. What a niche you've carved out for yourself.
Yeah, and it's been challenging. And what I'd say, so about the sort of the pros and cons, I guess, of
Mm,
niching is that the pro is that you obviously do start to gain a specialization. You can really hit and target that market. Your marketing messages are on point. It's not general and across all industries. It's very specific to them. You know how to talk in their language. You know how to speak to them. You know everything about that industry. So you're going to catch more because people see you as relevant, expert, and what have you. The cons of niching is that if that market doesn't have enough experience with what you're offering. So let me just be a bit clearer about that. The market I was going after was a great market, did need legal, but there were only certain levels within that market that kind of really could afford legal advice.
okay.
Most of them, and we'll talk about this a bit later when we hit upon sort of AI and where that's going in the world, but a lot of them were sort of very small startup businesses that can afford thousands of pounds to get a template drafted.
Mm,
So within a niche, you have to then really focus on the next level of niching, which is what is the sector within that? What is the sort of the client profile that you need to achieve to be able to win that? So it does go from 30,000 to X amount. So you
mhm.
have to be mindful of that. That's the sort of drawback of niching.
Absolutely. And how did you position yourself? How did you get visible within that niche? I guess is the best question to ask.
Yeah, so I did a lot of things. So, firstly, when I worked with a few clients, I obviously did lots of case studies, testimonials. Obviously, you go over and beyond, don't you, for those clients, just because you're starting up and you want to make a mark for yourself. I did some negotiations against Balfour Beatty for one particular client, and I did it obviously so well that this client told all the other MSPs in the marketplace, oh, you've got to use Kim in order to get your deal across, because a lot of them were working with Balfour Beatty. So that was really interesting to sort of get that recognition, but it was that word of mouth. And that's the thing about niching, is that you do get the wildfire sort of experience if you do a really good job. If you do a really bad job, forget about it, it's game over. So like be really aware of that, because
Absolutely.
it's a small market that you
Yeah.
play in.
So it's providing an outstanding service, going above and beyond, and then the word of mouth referrals kicks in.
Yeah, that's how it started. And then it was doing more
Amazing.
events and being really in front of a lot more Microsoft partners and having more eyeballs on me. I didn't really understand much about marketing at that point in my life. So there wasn't much in terms of email outreach and, using CRMs and what have you. It was very much that was the starting position.
Brilliant. And a little bit off the plan, but I have to say, I think you've personally branded yourself extremely well. I became aware of you probably 5 years ago, and you definitely stood out to me as somebody who was at the top of her game. So, was that conscious? Was that accidental? Or did you really put effort into your personal brand and the business brand behind that?
I think it's a bit of both. I think it's a bit accidental and a bit purposeful, which sounds like an oxymoron, really, but it sort of was, because I genuinely, the way that I stood out was the ethos to which I brought sort of into the company culture and, really elevating women, for example, into the business and carving a name for myself of being, a promoter of women and also just exceptional work-life balance. We won a few great places to work awards, a lot of things like that. So it came from a genuine place of like, this is what I believe in, and trying to spread the word to other firms, because I've always been, and you'll get this through the podcast, but I've always been an innovator and wanting to shake up the legal industry. So one of the things that I saw as an associate and working for others is that there was no work-life balance. There was no
Yes.
promotion of women with children very easily and know real like examples of how people could have it all. So I've built a reputation around that, and that sort of helped with my marketing, with pulling in better lawyers into the firm, but also that sort of helped inspire other people, I guess. So yeah, a bit of both.
Amazing, amazing. And can I just commend you for that? Because as a former lawyer myself, that is rare and that is absolutely something to be celebrated. So on behalf of female lawyers, thank you
Thank
for
you.
the example that you're setting and the jobs that you are creating.
Yeah, thank you.
So what would you say has been your biggest learning to date within that business? Because we're gonna come on to the new exciting things you've got going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest learning for me, I mean, if I could sort of wind the time back and start again, really, is to understand more about how I could have generated more sales and marketing. I think from the word go, I was very naive as to like how much effort there would be needed. Even word of mouth is great, but if you're building a business past you, you need to build a bigger sales engine. So really
Mm,
kind of having that experience. I think the other biggest learning, and being very candid, is that I did draw exceptional lawyers to the team, which was great, but also I drew other types of lawyers to the team that weren't the best fit. And I didn't have enough knowledge as to what does the right person in the right seat kind of look like. And I think now with 10 years I've been running that firm, I've kind of understood a lot more about what is the right kind of person to come in, and really looking at the values of the business and their values and whether that sort of matches up. But I'd say between those two things, they're probably my two biggest learnings.
amazing. So, of everybody that I know in the business world, which is a lot of people, you are one of the ones who has massively embraced AI. And you've actually built a revolutionary tool that is currently shaking up the legal industry. So I'd love to know, in your own words, what is this amazing tool? And tell me a bit about your journey with it to date.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will just say, firstly, I think AI gets brandished a lot in the public. I think it's really important to discuss what is AI and how this is effectively, what it really means to have AI. So a lot of people think of AI as generative AI, the chat GPT, the sort of glorified kind of search and find and large language models. What we've built is very much a machine learning tool which enables an analysis against contracts. So when you put contracts through the platform, it instantly reviews it like a lawyer does and gives you a risk score, tells you what the risk areas are, how to push back. So just wanted to sort of really kind of preface what we're talking about with AI.
This is very innovative in legal terms, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
nothing like that existed, certainly when I was a lawyer, that's a
yeah,
decade back now. But if people wanted a contract reviewed, and legal contracts, they can be so nuanced, literally one word difference in a
yeah.
massive contract can completely change the risk of the contract. So it's so important for people to understand these contracts, actually to be able to literally run it through a machine
Yeah.
and understand that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a real game changer. And what I was saying is that unlike a lot of other tools out there that do similar things, we don't use generative AI to do that analysis because there's a lot of risk of hallucinating, having the wrong advice. We've actually built all of our AI internally. So we've built it through legal observations, we've built it through NER, NLP. So looking at how to apply that context to observations that our lawyers would look for in a typical agreement and what would be missing. So a very proactive kind of review. So it's really kind of it's more thorough than sort of the AI, tools that you get out there that are using generative AI. So it's really important to understand what AI tools people are using. But yeah, you were asking me about the tools, and basically it does three things. It builds contracts. And again, this is designed for the tech businesses out there. It's not, again, a generic thing. So I stayed niche to tech
Mhm.
rather than aviation or pharma or anything else. It is built for tech businesses, so really relevant. And it builds contracts instantly, it reviews contracts instantly, and it also manages contracts for you. So there's an integrated e-signature platform, sort of
Amazing.
like,
Kim, before we
yeah.
get too techie, I want to know more
Yes.
about the journey. So,
Yes.
Tell
The
me,
interesting part.
well, I'm not saying it's not interesting, but I don't want to lose people because I think the journey is fascinating.
Yeah.
How did this idea come about? And how brave were you feeling at the time? Because this, this, I'm not sure I can say that. This takes balls. I'm just going to say it.
It does take balls. And yeah, it's been challenging. The reason I started it was because I could see a lot of our clients, again, talking about that startup market who were really sort of nickel and diming us on the cost. And
Mhm.
I realized at that point, look, we have to service a certain amount. We can't got salaries and what have you, and lawyers are not cheap, right? So there's a certain value we have to put into what we do. But for the ones that couldn't afford it, what do they have? They
Mm.
have to go out there and find a way, and a lot of them were just using old recycled templates. So I really wanted to get to a position of going, well, hang on, there's a market here to build something that's automated, that's low cost, and actually can help these startups get to where they need to get to. So that was kind of the journey. That was the thinking behind it.
Okay. And how did you start it? Like, how did you? So, for anyone else who's in that position,
Yeah.
what were your early steps? How does one go about
Yeah. So,
doing
yeah.
all of that?
We started with a research piece to see whether this would be valuable, how much of the market would value this, really sort of understanding what our market, realizable market is. And then we did a proof of concept. So we brought in an in-house developer to build the first proof of concept, which was an NDA reader. So it could read NDAs. And we actually gave this out for free to anyone who wanted to use it. We had it for free for like a whole year. So people could just put their NDAs through it and
Amazing.
like the risk score. Then we actually applied for Innovate UK grant money, which we successfully won. And
Congrats.
thank you. So that was really helpful for like building it to something bigger than just the NDA proof of concept.
So, you're about 2 years into this journey, is that right?
Yeah.
So, Kim, I have to ask, you're about 2 years into this journey. If you could give yourself some advice 2 years ago, what would
Mm.
it be?
I think I wouldn't really change very much, actually, to be honest with you. I think what I've done was right when issues presented themselves. There's been a huge learning curve throughout the whole 2 years. I've never run a SaaS business, for example, so learning how to do that. I've never run development teams, learning how to do that, all the way through to how do you get funding and secure funding and all of that kind of stuff. So probably not very much to go back and sort of fix, if you like, but just that it's been a really fun journey.
Amazing. And Kim, you are a big believer in self-care and balance. For anyone listening to this, can you tell us a little bit about why that's so important to you and what that might look like for you?
Yeah, I think the challenges you have, especially because I'm running two businesses and being a leader in both of the businesses, is the amount of stress that you have every single day, let alone sort of people issues, but it's also financial issues, it's getting the sales up. There's a lot of things that you juggle all the time. And it's really important to be able to deal with that stress. Now, how I deal with it is I do a lot of meditation, I do ice baths in the winter to really help me relax. I do a lot of breath work, but I also try to decompress at the end of every single day. Otherwise, I carry that stress into the family life and what have you, and it's not a good place to be because it's a bit of a slippery slope at that point. So those kinds of things are really important. And having some boundaries, I think, is really key. Like, know your boundaries with your staff, with your work, with your businesses, with your family, with friends. Just know what the boundaries are, whatever it means to you, and try and have some time for you.
Love it. What a great note to end on. Kim, thank you so much for your time. It's been so insightful, so valuable. So, for our listeners who would like to connect with you, where's the best place to do that?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn is probably the best place to do it. My name's Kim Simmonds. Just feel free to link in with me. And if anybody on this is on a similar journey or would like to just get a bit more information, I'm very happy and open to sort of helping those on who are listening to the call.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kim. Have a great day.
Thanks, Ruth.
Thank you for listening today. If you like what you hear, please hit subscribe and leave us a review. Even better, come connect with me, Ruth Ferreira, on LinkedIn and Instagram. I'd love to get to know you.